Welcome to Sinister Serials, where shadows whisper and every tale chills to the... On Weird Wednesday, cosmic horrors from beyond the stars will haunt your dreams. This Weird Wednesday, journey with us to the sands of Egypt in the Shifting Sands of Zaraleth. An expedition led by Dr. Harris seeks ancient truths but finds sinister mysteries instead. As supernatural threats and betrayals unravel, the team faces their darkest fears. Will they escape Zaraleth's grasp, or will history ominously repeat itself?
Under the relentless gaze of the midday sun, Sinclair, flanked by Dr. Harris and the rest of the weary team, trudged across the vast, undulating expanse of the desert. The heat was a tangible force, a suffocating blanket that draped over them, sapping their strength with every step they took. Ahead, an ancient monolith stood, a solitary sentinel against the backdrop of shifting sands, its presence an ominous harbinger amidst the desolation. Sinclair's mind was a whirlwind of emotions as they approached the timeless marker. The stele, with its inscrutable carvings and stoic stature, beckoned to them, promising insights yet untold, perhaps even the answers they so desperately sought. Yet the unease that gripped her heart was undeniable, a visceral response to the engraved obelisk's imposing presence, magnified by the unsettling events that had haunted their expedition since its inception. The air around the ancient monolith seemed to thrum with an unseen energy, the ancient symbols etched upon its surface casting intricate shadows upon the sand, weaving a tapestry of light and darkness that danced hypnotically under the glaring sun. Sinclair felt the pull of her scientific curiosity, a drive that had always guided her, now urging her forward, beckoning her to unravel the mysteries of the etched edifice. Yet, conflicting with this drive was a palpable sense of trepidation, a whisper of caution that stirred within her, fueled by the memories of the previous night's eerie occurrences and the ever-present, unexplained anomalies that seemed to pervade the desert. The inscribed sentinel, for all its silent allure, was a remnant of a past that they scarcely understood, a piece of a puzzle that was as bewildering as it was fascinating. Sinclair's internal conflict mirrored the team's collective apprehension. Each member was caught in the grip of their own doubts and fears, their resolve tested by the relentless desert and the cryptic revelations that seemed to lurk around every dune. Yet, despite the trepidation that tugged at her soul, Sinclair knew that turning back was not an option. The stele represented a beacon in the vastness of the unknown, a marker that, for better or worse, would guide them closer to the heart of the mystery that enveloped them. As they drew nearer, the inscribed pillars' ancient carvings seemed to come alive under the harsh desert sun, the interplay of light and shadow creating an almost mesmerizing effect that captivated and disconcerted in equal measure. Sinclair, torn between her desire for knowledge and the instinctual fear of the unknown, took a deep, steadying breath, her gaze fixed on the monolith that stood as both a challenge and a promise. The journey ahead was fraught with peril, but the pursuit of understanding, of piercing the veil that shrouded the desert's ancient secrets, was a siren call that she could not ignore. The etched monument awaited, a silent guardian of the past, holding within its weathered form the keys to the mysteries that had drawn them into the heart of the desert's enigmatic embrace. As Sinclair and the team drew closer to the enigmatic stela, an almost imperceptible vibration began to emanate from the ground beneath their feet, a subtle tremor that seemed to resonate with the ancient rhythms of the desert itself. The air everywhere around grew charged, a palpable tension that enveloped the team as they hesitantly encircled the monolith, drawn by a mix of fear and fascination. Then, without warning, the faint hum that had been a mere whisper in the wind grew into a resonant chorus, emanating from the very heart of the monument. The inscriptions upon its surface, cryptic symbols that had stood silent for millennia, began to pulse with a soft, ethereal light. It was as if the silent sentinel had awakened, its dormant energies stirred by the presence of the intrepid explorers who dared to tread upon this sacred ground. The team froze, caught in a moment of awe and apprehension. The glowing inscriptions cast an otherworldly illumination on their faces, painting them with hues of fear and wonder. The phenomenon was unlike anything they had encountered, a tangible connection to the ancient forces that had shaped this desolate landscape. Yet, with this awe-inspiring spectacle came an undercurrent of dread, a reminder of the desert's unfathomable mysteries and the unsettling events that had plagued their expedition. The team stood at the threshold of discovery, yet the instinctual urge to flee from the unknown tugged at their resolve. The stele, with its pulsing glyphs and the haunting hum that filled the air, was a beacon of ancient knowledge, but also a harbinger of the unexplained phenomena that seemed to defy the laws of nature as they knew it. The glow of the inscriptions intensified, the light ebbing and flowing like the breath of some ancient, slumbering entity. It was as if the timeless marker was communicating, its luminescent language a bridge across the ages, connecting the present with a past shrouded in mystery and legend. The team's hesitation was palpable, a collective uncertainty that mirrored Sinclair's own inner turmoil. The desire to delve deeper into the stele's secrets was a powerful motivator, yet the primal fear of the unknown, of awakening forces beyond their comprehension, held them in its grip. In that moment, under the oppressive glare of the midday sun, with the stone testament's inscriptions casting their hypnotic glow, the desert seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the explorer's next move. The ancient monolith stood as a testament to the enduring mysteries of the natural world, challenging the team's understanding of reality and their place within it. The decision to press forward or retreat would define their journey, a pivotal moment in their quest to unravel the enigmatic heart of the desert. In the midst of the stela's eerie luminescence under the unforgiving desert sun, Sinclair's deep-seated curiosity surged, momentarily overshadowing the veil of apprehension that had descended upon the group. The pulsating light from the ancient inscriptions, etched deep within the stone, beckoned her closer, her scholarly instincts ignited by the prospect of unveiling secrets veiled by centuries. With a cautious step forward, Sinclair diminished the space between trepidation and enlightenment, her gaze transfixed on the cryptic symbols that appeared to oscillate and shimmer in the ethereal glow. The atmosphere around the obelisk vibrated with a dormant power, a resonance echoing through the ages, whispering tales of forgotten lore and concealed wisdom. Driven by a force greater than her lingering fears, Sinclair extended her hand, her fingertips nearly grazing the stone's surface. Drawn to the captivating dance of the inscriptions illuminated in otherworldly light. The glyphs, bathed in an unearthly luminescence, seemed to transform under her intense scrutiny, as if sentient and reactive to her presence. Resolved to document this momentous discovery, despite the tremors of uncertainty that threatened her resolve, Sinclair reached for her sketchbook and charcoal, tools of her trade and her connection to the realm of the tangible and comprehensible. These instruments, extensions of her quest for knowledge, became her means to capture the haunting allure of the stele's glowing inscriptions. With a steady, albeit quivering hand, she began to sketch the scene before her, the soft scrape of charcoal against paper, a stark contrast to the oppressive silence that surrounded them. This act of recording the phenomenon felt like a reaffirmation of her courage, a challenge to the shadows of fear that sought to ensnare her. As the final strokes of charcoal captured the essence of the stele's mysterious glow, a tangible shift permeated the air. The silent stone scribe's response was swift, an intensification of the light from its carvings as if acknowledging Sinclair's audacity, or perhaps issuing a cautionary tale for her bold intrusion. The atmosphere crackled with an anticipatory energy, the desert itself poised on the cusp of a revelation. As the line between the tangible and the realm of ancient mysteries teetered on the edge of disclosure. The moment Sinclair's charcoal ceased its dance across the sketchbook, capturing the last of the ethereal glow emanating from the stele's inscriptions, the air around them shifted dramatically. The light from the glyphs flared with an intensity that momentarily blinded the team, a brilliant burst of ancient energy released into the oppressive midday heat. As their vision cleared, a sudden, violent gust of wind erupted around the ancient monolith, the desert's breath coming alive with a fury that seemed conjured from the depths of the earth itself. The inscriptions, which had pulsed with life only moments before, extinguished as abruptly as they had awakened, plunging the area back into a deceptive calm, leaving behind an oppressive silence that weighed heavily on the air. In the wake of this sudden calm, the ground beneath Dr. Harris's feet betrayed him, a hidden snare of quicksand lying in wait beneath the deceptive crust of the desert floor. With a startled cry, he found himself ensnared, the earth swallowing him with a voracious hunger, his shocked cries piercing the newfound silence.
Harris!
Sinclair's voice cut through the chaos, a beacon of command amidst the panic that threatened to engulf the team. Her words were a clarion call to action, galvanizing the group as the sand began to claim one of their own. In the maelstrom of sand and wind that engulfed them, Captain Samuel Fitzgerald's commanding presence became a pillar of strength for the beleaguered team. His military training and hardened resolve were evident in the set of his jaw and the determined glint in his piercing blue eyes as he sprang into action beside Sinclair.
"Form up! Steady now!"
Fitzgerald barked, his voice a gravely thunder above the desert's howl, as he positioned himself opposite Sinclair. Extending his muscular arms towards the ensnared Dr. Harris, his weather-beaten skin, a testament to years of battle and survival, was now etched with the urgency of the moment.
"We'll get you out, Harris! Hold fast!"
Fitzgerald's encouragement was a fierce growl, his eyes locked on Harris's, instilling a sliver of hope amidst the rising terror. The team, spurred by Fitzgerald's unwavering confidence, quickly aligned themselves with the disciplined precision he demanded. The captain's rugged build and towering stature lent a physical gravitas to their human chain, his strength a vital link as they strained against the quicksand's grip.
"Pull on my count!"
Fitzgerald commanded, his saber rattling at his side, a silent witness to his countless battles.
1, 2, 3, pull!
His voice, imbued with the authority of countless campaigns, galvanized the team into a unified force, their efforts synchronized with his count. As they heaved in unison, Fitzgerald's scar, a jagged line of survival, seemed to pulse with the effort, a reminder of the battles he had weathered. The wind whipped his long, weathered coat around him, the fabric snapping like a battle flag as he anchored the team's efforts with his formidable strength.
"Sinclair, keep the line tight!"
Fitzgerald shouted, his eyes briefly meeting hers in a silent exchange of resolve and mutual respect. The two leaders, each shaped by their own trials, now found their fates intertwined in the heart of the desert, their leadership a beacon for their team in the face of overwhelming odds. Sinclair, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and adrenaline, her voice cutting through the tumult with urgent commands. The sketchbook, once a symbol of her pursuit of knowledge, lay forgotten in the sand, its pages fluttering in the wind, a poignant reminder of the price their curiosity had exacted.
Pull with all you've got, now!
Sinclair's command echoed Fitzgerald's, her leadership seamlessly intertwined with his, a dual force of determination and resolve. The team, spurred by their combined will, heaved against the quicksand's relentless pull, their actions a testament to their united front against the desert's caprice. The team's efforts, a symphony of grunts, shouts, and the relentless wind, painted a vivid tableau of human tenacity against the unfathomable mysteries and dangers of the desert. Each member, from the stoic Fitzgerald to the introspective Chang, played a pivotal role in this desperate dance with fate, their individual strengths and spirits woven into the fabric of their collective endeavor. In the ongoing battle against the engulfing grip of the quicksand and the mysterious forces, the conflict raged on. The team's resolve was tested as never before. Their every action, every shouted command, and every pull against the ensnaring sands was a defiance against the desert's remorseless will, a battle not just for Harris's life, but for the very soul of their mission. The realization dawned that their battle against the desert's capricious nature was one of not only physical peril, but a confrontation with forces that defied their understanding. The silent sentinel, with its extinguished inscriptions and the quicksand that now threatened to claim one of their own, their journey, one fraught with peril and uncertainty, had carried them to the precipice of the unknown, a place where anything could happen. In the wake of the harrowing events at the engraved obelisk, the team's morale hung by a thread, their collective spirit frayed by loss and the daunting uncertainties that lay ahead. Gathered around the dimming embers of their campfire, the desolate expanse of the desert stretching ominously around them, the members voiced their fears, their doubts, and their grief in a somber symphony of despair. Sinclair, amidst the chorus of concerns, became a silent pillar of strength, her presence a calm within the storm. Her piercing gaze moved from face to face, each line of worry, each shadow of doubt registered and acknowledged. The weight of leadership, heavy on her shoulders, was not just a mantle of authority, but a covenant of trust and empathy she had forged with her team. Her mind, a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions, raced to find the words that could mend the frayed edges of their resolve, to weave a tapestry of hope and unity from the strands of despair that threatened to unravel them. The loss of Harris, the ominous silence of the steel, and the relentless vastness of the desert loomed large in her thoughts, a triad of challenges that tested her to her core. Drawing a deep breath, Sinclair stood, her silhouette etched against the flickering light of the fire, a beacon of resolve in the encroaching darkness. The moment had come for her to speak, to lend her voice to the silent plea for direction and reassurance that hung in the air.
Friends.
She began, her voice steady, imbued with a warmth that sought to bridge the distances between them.
I know the road we've traveled has been fraught with more than its fair share of trials. The loss of Harris, the mysteries that confound us, the desert's unyielding expanse. It's enough to shake the stoutest of hearts.
She paused, letting her words settle among the group, her eyes meeting theirs in a silent communion of shared grief and uncertainty.
But let us not forget the reason that brought us together, the quest for knowledge, for understanding, that pushed us to brave these sands. Our journey, though marked by adversity, is also filled with the potential for discovery, for uncovering truths that have lain hidden beneath these shifting sands for ages.
Sinclair's voice grew firmer, a resonant note of conviction threading through her words.
The challenges we face, formidable though they may be, are but stepping stones on the path of discovery. We stand on the brink of unraveling mysteries that have eluded others for centuries. Our resolve, our unity, is our greatest asset, and together there is no obstacle we cannot overcome.
Her gaze swept across the faces of her team, each member reflecting the flicker of renewed purpose in their eyes, kindled by her words. Let us honor Harris's memory, not with despair, but with a renewed dedication to our mission. Let the obstacles we face not deter us, but drive us forward, united in our purpose and our resolve. In that moment, Sinclair became more than their leader. She was the embodiment of their collective will to persevere, to push beyond the boundaries of fear and uncertainty. Her decision to speak, to rally her team, was a beacon of hope in the vast, shadowy expanse of the desert, a clarion call to rediscover the indomitable spirit that had brought them together under the vast, starlit sky. Sinclair's words, delivered with earnest conviction beside the flickering campfire, wove through the hearts of her team, a soothing balm to the raw edges of their spirit. In the shared silence that followed, a tangible shift occurred among them, a subtle realignment of purpose and unity that seemed to draw them closer, a single entity once more against the vast, indifferent backdrop of the desert. The divisions that had threatened to fragment their resolve seemed to dissolve in the warmth of the firelight, as nods of agreement and murmurs of assent rippled through the group. The collective grief and uncertainty that had clouded their vision gave way to a renewed sense of camaraderie and determination, a rekindling of the flame of exploration and discovery that had brought them together. Yet, as the embers of their resolve were fanned into flame, the stark reality of their situation loomed ever larger. The desert, with its endless expanse of shifting sands and hidden perils, remained an implacable foe, its vastness a constant reminder of their vulnerability. The stele, a silent monolith of stone and mystery, stood as a testament to the unknown challenges that awaited them, its secrets locked within the ancient inscriptions that had thus far eluded their understanding. The decision to press forward, bolstered by Sinclair's rallying call, was a testament to their collective strength and tenacity. Yet, it was also an acknowledgement of the formidable challenges that lay ahead. The mysteries of the relic of ages, intertwined with the capricious nature of the desert, cast long shadows over their path, a constant reminder of the delicate balance between the thirst for knowledge and the respect for the unknown forces that governed this ancient land. The stakes, heightened by their renewed commitment, were clear. Each step forward was a step into the unknown, a journey not just across the physical landscape of the desert, but through the uncharted territories of their own limits and fears. The secrets of the steely, silent, and inscrutable beckoned with the allure of ancient mysteries yet to be unraveled, promising answers that could redefine their understanding of the world. The team settled into a quiet contemplation of the road ahead. The night enveloped them in its vast, starlit embrace. The desert, a seemingly endless sea of sand and stone, whispered of the trials and wonders that lay in wait, a siren call to those brave enough to heed its call. In the heart of this vast wilderness, Sinclair and her team stood on the threshold of discovery, their spirits buoyed by a shared resolve, ready to face the challenges that dawn would bring, united in their quest to uncover the truths that lay hidden beneath the desert's enigmatic veil. In the waning light of the desert evening, Sinclair stood slightly apart from the huddled forms of her team, her gaze lost in the vast expanse that stretched before them. The campfire crackled behind her, its warm glow a small beacon of comfort in the vast, cold desert night. The events of the day, marked by loss and renewed determination, lay heavy on her mind, a tapestry of triumph and tragedy that mirrored the undulating dunes surrounding them. The shared resolve of the team, reignited by her words and their collective will to persevere, was a source of strength for Sinclair. Yet, the mantle of leadership weighed heavily upon her shoulders, the path ahead fraught with uncertainties and unseen dangers that lurked within the desert's shadowy embrace. The Stille, with its inscrutable mysteries, and the vast uncharted expanse of the desert remained formidable adversaries, silent sentinels to the challenges that awaited. As night descended, cloaking the desert in a blanket of stars and cool air, Sinclair's thoughts turned introspective. The flickering light of the campfire cast ghostly shadows across the sand, a dance of light and darkness that mirrored the tumult of hope and fear within her. The journey that lay ahead, altered irrevocably by the day's harrowing events, was a path shrouded in mystery, each step a venture into the unknown. The team, united in their purpose, yet each grappling with their own doubts and fears, settled around the dying embers of the fire, the flickering flames a fragile bulwark against the darkness. The night, with its infinite expanse and whispered secrets, enveloped them in its vast, silent embrace, a stark reminder of the insignificance of their presence in the timeless landscape of the desert. The desert night deepened, wrapping the world in its cool, starlit embrace. Sinclair finally turned away from the vast expanse of darkness and made her way back to the circle of her team. The campfire, now reduced to a bed of glowing embers, offered a gentle warmth against the chill of the desert air. The day's events, a tumultuous blend of loss and resolve, seemed to recede slightly as the team prepared to rest, seeking a brief respite in sleep before facing the unknown challenges of the new day. Around her, the team members settled into their makeshift bedding, the flickering light casting long, dancing shadows across the sand, the quiet rustle of fabric, the soft sighs of weary bodies finding rest, filled the air, a symphony of small, intimate sounds that spoke of the day's end and the temporary peace of night. Sinclair, her thoughts still a whirlwind of reflection and concern for the path ahead, found a spot near the fire. The shared resolve that had been reignited among them, though a source of strength, could not fully dispel the undercurrent of uncertainty that lay beneath the surface. Yet as she wrapped her cloak tighter against the cold and lay down, the proximity of her companions provided a measure of comfort, a reminder of the solidarity that had sustained them thus far. The team, each member lost in their own thoughts, gradually succumbed to the exhaustion that had accumulated over the day's trials. The rhythmic breathing of sleeping figures, the occasional shift or murmur, became the night's gentle lullaby, lulling even the most troubled minds towards rest. Sinclair, her gaze lingering on the dim glow of the embers, allowed herself a moment to simply be, her body weary, but her spirit bolstered by the unity and determination of her team. The challenges that awaited them, the mysteries of the Stila and the vast, uncharted desert, loomed in the back of her mind, but for now, they were shadows held at bay by the small circle of light and warmth they had created in the vast darkness. As sleep finally claimed her, the last thing Sinclair saw was the soft glow of the coals, a beacon of hope in the enveloping night. The team, bound together by shared purpose and resolve, drifted into sleep, their bodies and minds seeking the solace of dreams, however fleeting, as they braced for the challenges that the morrow might bring. The desert, with all its mysteries and dangers, would have to wait for the dawn, when they would rise again, united and ready to continue their quest. In the depths of the desert night, Captain Samuel Fitzgerald lay restless, his makeshift bed a tangle of sweat-soaked blankets and discarded gear. The embers of the campfire had long since died, leaving only a faint trace of smoke that lingered in the air, a bitter reminder of the day's sorrows. Around him, the other members of the expedition slumbered fitfully, their dreams haunted by the specter of loss that hung over them all. Fitzgerald's own mind was a whirlwind of grief and guilt, his thoughts circling endlessly around the memory of Dr. Harris's final moments. In the twilight realm between waking and sleeping, the boundaries of reality began to blur, the desert's whispers weaving themselves into the fabric of his dreams. He found himself standing at the edge of the ruins, the ancient stones looming before him like the bones of a long-dead behemoth. The moon hung low in the sky, its pale light casting an eerie glow over the scene, the shadows seeming to dance and writhe with a life of their own. Fitzgerald's heart raced, a primal fear gripping his chest as he stared into the darkness, searching for the source of the unease that prickled at the back of his neck. And then he saw it, a flicker of movement amidst the ruins, a lithe form slipping through the shadows with a grace that was almost hypnotic. The jackal, its eyes burning with an otherworldly intelligence, emerged from the depths of the stones, its gaze fixing upon Fitzgerald with an intensity that seemed to pierce his very soul. In the dream, Fitzgerald felt himself drawn forward, his feet moving of their own accord as if pulled by an invisible force. The jackal watched him, its head cocked to the side, a silent invitation to follow, to delve deeper into the mysteries that lay hidden within the ruins. Fitzgerald's mind recoiled, a part of him screaming to turn back, to flee the madness that seemed to beckon him onward. Yet another part, a desperate, aching part of his soul, yearned for the answers that only the desert could provide. He took a step forward, then another, his heart pounding in his chest as he crossed the threshold into the unknown. The ruins seemed to shift and change around him, the stones rearranging themselves into new and impossible configurations. Stairs appeared where none had been before, leading down into the bowels of the earth, into chambers that pulsed with an ancient, malevolent energy. The jackal led the way, its form always just ahead, a spectral guide through the labyrinth of Fitzgerald's own mind. As he descended deeper into the ruins, the walls began to whisper, ancient voices carried on the wind, fragments of a language long forgotten by the world of men. Fitzgerald strained to make out the words, his mind grasping at the elusive strands of meaning that danced just beyond his reach. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, until they filled his head with a cacophony of sound, a chorus of the damned that threatened to shatter his very sanity. And then, in the heart of the ruins, he saw it, a chamber that pulsed with an otherworldly light, a sickly green glow that emanated from a stone altar at its center. Upon the altar lay a figure, a body draped in the tattered remnants of a once pristine uniform. Fitzgerald's heart seized in his chest as he recognized the face of Dr. Harris, his friend's features twisted in a rictus of agony and terror. The jackal sat beside the altar, its eyes glinting with a malevolent intelligence, a silent guardian of the horrific scene before them. Fitzgerald's mind reeled, his thoughts spinning out of control as he tried to make sense of the nightmare that had engulfed him. And then, from the shadows behind the altar, another figure emerged, a silhouette that seemed to absorb the light around it, a presence that radiated an aura of ancient, unspeakable evil. Fitzgerald's eyes widened in horror as the figure stepped into the light, its features resolving into a face that was at once familiar and utterly alien. Dr. Chang, his once kind eyes now blazing with a madness that seemed to consume his very soul, stood before him, his hands outstretched in a gesture of mock welcome.
"You see now, don't you, Captain?"
Dr. Chang's voice was a sibilant whisper, a sound that seemed to slither into Fitzgerald's mind, coiling around his thoughts like a serpent. The truth that lies hidden beneath the sands, the secrets that the desert has guarded for centuries. Fitzgerald's mouth worked soundlessly, his voice frozen in his throat as he stared at the abomination before him. Dr. Chang's face split into a grin, a grotesque parody of human emotion that sent shivers down Fitzgerald's spine.
The gods of the desert have chosen you, Captain.
Dr. Chang continued, his voice rising in pitch, becoming a manic, fevered chant.
They have marked you as their own, a vessel for their power, a champion of their cause.
Fitzgerald's mind rebelled, a scream building in his throat as he tried to wrench himself free from the nightmare that held him in its grip. He could feel the desert's power surging through him, a searing, white-hot energy that threatened to consume him from within. The jackal watched, its eyes gleaming with a savage, primal hunger, as Dr. Chang's laughter echoed through the chamber, a sound that seemed to shake the very foundations of the earth. And then, with a gasp, Fitzgerald awoke, his body drenched in sweat, his heart pounding in his chest like a drum. He sat up, his eyes wild, darting around the camp as he tried to orient himself, to separate the dream from reality. The others slept on, oblivious to the terror that had gripped their leader, lost in their own troubled dreams. Fitzgerald's hand shook as he reached for his canteen, the water soothing his parched throat as he tried to calm his racing thoughts. The dream had been so vivid, so real, that he could still feel the desert's power thrumming through his veins, the jackal's eyes boring into his soul. He looked out over the ruins, the ancient stones seeming to mock him in the pale light of the moon. The desert held its secrets close, a silent guardian of the mysteries that lay hidden within its shifting sands. Fitzgerald knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that the dream had been a warning, a portent of the horrors that lay ahead. He closed his eyes, his mind racing as he tried to make sense of the fragments of memory that danced at the edges of his consciousness. Dr. Chang's words echoed in his head, a taunting reminder of the fate that awaited them all. The gods of the desert, the ancient powers that held sway over this accursed land, had marked them for their own, and there would be no escape from the destiny that had been laid out before them. Fitzgerald's resolve hardened, a grim determination settling over him like a cloak. He would not let the desert claim another of his companions, would not let the madness that had taken Dr. Chang consume them all. He would fight, with every ounce of strength and will that he possessed, to unravel the mysteries that lay before them, to find a way to break free from the curse that had been laid upon them. As he lay back down, his eyes fixed on the stars above, Fitzgerald knew that the path ahead would be fraught with peril, that the desert would test them in ways they had never been tested before. But he also knew that they had no choice but to press on, to follow the trail that Dr. Harris had laid out for them, to seek the answers that lay hidden within the shifting sands of Zaraleth. The dream had been a warning, a glimpse of the horrors that awaited them, but it had also been a call to action, a summons to stand against the darkness that threatened to engulf them all. Fitzgerald closed his eyes, his mind drifting into an uneasy slumber, the jackal's eyes haunting his dreams, a silent guardian of the secrets that lay hidden within the desert's depths. The desert night wrapped itself around the makeshift camp, a blanket of shadows and silence broken only by the occasional whisper of the wind through the ruins. Eleanor Sinclair lay huddled beneath a thin blanket, her body exhausted, her mind still reeling from the day's horrors. She longed for the oblivion of sleep, for a respite from the grief and uncertainty that gnawed at her heart. As her eyes drifted closed, the boundaries of reality began to blur, the waking world fading into the realm of dreams. At first there was only darkness, a void that seemed to stretch out into eternity. But then, gradually, shapes began to form in the emptiness, shadows that coalesced into the familiar contours of the desert landscape. Sinclair found herself standing amidst the ruins, the ancient stones towering above her like silent sentinels. The moon hung low in the sky, its pale light casting an eerie glow over the scene, the shadows seeming to dance and writhe with a life of their own. She felt a chill run down her spine, a sense of unease that prickled at the back of her neck. And then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a figure emerge from the darkness, a silhouette that seemed to shimmer and shift in the moonlight. Her heart leapt into her throat as she recognized the familiar form of Dr. Harris, his face drawn and haggard, his eyes hollow and haunted. He reached out to her, his hand cold as ice as it grasped her arm, his touch sending a jolt of terror through her body. Sinclair tried to recoil, to pull away from the spectral figure, but his grip was like iron, holding her fast.
Eleanor,
He whispered, his voice a rasping echo that seemed to come from a great distance.
you must listen to me. There is a hidden chamber, one that we missed in our explorations. Within it lies the key to understanding the secrets of this place.
Sinclair's mind reeled, the rational part of her screaming that this was impossible, that Harris was dead, his body lost to the desert sands. Yet here he was, his touch as real as the ground beneath her feet, his words echoing in her ears with a terrible urgency.
You must find it, Eleanor.
Harris continued, his voice growing more insistent, more desperate.
The chamber holds the answers we seek, the truth that lies hidden beneath the sands. You must not fail, or all will be lost.
Sinclair fought against the rising panic that threatened to engulf her, the boundary between dream and reality blurring until she could no longer tell where one ended and the other began. She knew, with a certainty that chilled her to the bone, that this was no ordinary dream, no mere figment of her grief-stricken imagination. The smell of wet sand filled her nostrils, the taste of dust and decay heavy on her tongue. Harris's voice was like dry leaves rustling in the wind, a sound that seemed to come from beyond the grave itself. She struggled to make sense of his words, to unravel the riddle that he had laid before her. But even as she grappled with the mystery, the dream began to shift and change around her, the ruins warping and twisting into new and impossible shapes. Harris's face began to distort, his features melting and reforming like wax, his eyes sinking back into his skull until only empty sockets remained. Sinclair screamed, a sound that was swallowed up by the void, lost in the endless expanse of the dream. She clawed at the spectral figure, desperate to break free from its grasp, to escape the nightmare that had ensnared her. And then, with a gasp, she awoke, her body drenched in sweat, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. She sat up, her eyes wild, darting around the camp as she tried to orient herself, to separate the dream from reality. The camp was silent, the others still lost in their own troubled slumbers. Sinclair's breath came in ragged gasps, the lingering terror of the dream still gripping her heart like a vice. She rubbed at her arm, the spot where Harris's fingers had dug into her flesh, the cold touch still lingering on her skin. She shivered, a sense of unease settling over her like a shroud. The dream had been so vivid, so real, that she could still feel the weight of Harris's words pressing down upon her, the urgency of his message echoing in her mind. Was it madness, she wondered, or was there some truth hidden within the twisted visions of her subconscious? The chamber he had spoken of, the key that lay hidden within its depths, could it be real, or was it simply a product of her grief-addled imagination? Sinclair's gaze fell upon Fitzgerald's empty bedroll, a sudden realization striking her like a bolt of lightning. He was gone, vanished into the night without a trace. A sense of isolation washed over her, a feeling of being utterly alone in the face of the unknown. She hugged her knees to her chest, her mind racing as she tried to make sense of the fragments of the dream that still clung to her consciousness. The hidden chamber, the key to understanding. What did it all mean? Was it a message from beyond the grave, a final gift from Harris to guide them on their quest? Or was it something darker, more sinister, a trap laid by the malevolent forces that lurked within the desert's depths? Sinclair's thoughts were interrupted by a sound from the ruins, a scraping, scuttling noise that sent a chill down her spine. She froze, her breath caught in her throat as she strained to listen, to make out the source of the disturbance. Was it an animal, she wondered, some nocturnal creature prowling the ancient stones in search of prey? Or was it something else, something far more terrifying, a response to her scream that had echoed through the night? She rose to her feet, her heart pounding, her senses on high alert. The ruins loomed before her, a labyrinth of shadows and secrets that seemed to beckon her forward, daring her to uncover the truth that lay hidden within their depths. Sinclair's hand went to her locket, the cool metal a comfort against her skin. The heirloom was a talisman, a connection to her family's legacy, to the generations of women who had come before her, each bearing the weight of their own mysteries and secrets. She thought of her mother, of the cryptic warnings she had whispered on her deathbed, the tales of ancient curses and forgotten gods that had haunted their bloodline for centuries. Was this the moment, she wondered, when those warnings would finally come to pass, when the truth would be revealed at last? Sinclair's resolve hardened, a grim determination settling over her like a cloak. She would not be cowed by the shadows, by the whispers of the wind and the scraping of unseen claws against stone. She would face the unknown, no matter how terrifying, no matter how maddening, and she would find the answers that lay hidden within the desert's shifting sands. She took a step forward, then another, her feet carrying her towards the ruins, towards the heart of the mystery that had consumed her waking thoughts and haunted her dreams. The chamber, the key, the truth that lay beyond. She would find them all, or die trying. As she moved through the camp, Sinclair's mind raced with the implications of her dream, with the weight of the burden that had been placed upon her shoulders. Harris's words echoed in her mind, a taunting reminder of the secrets that lay just beyond her grasp, of the answers that seemed to dance at the edges of her consciousness. She thought of Fitzgerald, of the bond that had formed between them in the wake of Harris's death, of the shared grief and determination that had driven them forward. Where was he now, she wondered, and what dark paths had he wandered down in the depths of the night? Sinclair's heart ached with the weight of her isolation, with the sense of being adrift in a sea of shadows and secrets. But even as the darkness pressed in around her, even as the ruins loomed before her like the maw of some great beast, she felt a flicker of hope kindle in her chest, a spark of defiance that refused to be extinguished. She would not let the desert claim her, would not let the madness that lurked within its depths consume her mind and soul. She would fight, with every ounce of strength and will that she possessed, to unravel the mysteries that lay before her, to find the truth that had been hidden for so long. As she reached the edge of the ruins, Sinclair paused, her heart racing, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. The ancient stones seemed to whisper to her, their voices carried on the wind, fragments of a language long forgotten by the world of men. She closed her eyes, her mind reaching out, straining to make sense of the elusive strands of meaning that danced just beyond her reach. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, until they filled her head with a cacophony of sound, a chorus of the damned that threatened to shatter her very sanity. And then, like a bolt of lightning, a single word pierced the chaos, a word that seemed to burn itself into her very soul.
"Come,"
it said, a command that was at once a promise and a threat.
"Come and see the truth that lies hidden within the heart of the desert."
Sinclair's eyes snapped open, her breath catching in her throat as she stared into the darkness. The ruins stretched out before her, a labyrinth of shadows and secrets that seemed to beckon her forward, daring her to uncover the truth that lay hidden within their depths. She took a deep breath, her resolve hardening into a diamond-hard certainty. She would not turn back, would not let the fear that clawed at her heart hold her back. She would press on, no matter the cost, no matter the danger, and she would find the answers that lay hidden within the shifting sands of Zaraleth. Dr. William Chang awoke with a start, his body drenched in a cold sweat that clung to his skin like a second layer of clothing. The coarse fabric of his cot scratched against his back, a tangible reminder of the harsh reality that surrounded him. The air in his tent was thick and heavy, the silence broken only by the ragged sound of his own breathing. He sat up slowly, his mind still reeling from the disturbing dream that had torn him from his slumber. The images lingered at the edges of his consciousness, fragments of a nightmare that seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, threatening to overwhelm him at any moment. Chang closed his eyes, trying to steady his racing heart, to find some semblance of calm amidst the chaos that swirled within him. But even as he reached for the familiar threads of his meditative practices, he found himself grasping at emptiness, his mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions and half-formed thoughts. The dream had been unlike anything he had ever experienced before, a vision of such profound horror and temptation that it left him shaken to his very core. He had seen things, terrible things that defied explanation, that challenged everything he thought he knew about the nature of reality. In his mind's eye, he could still see the monstrous entity that had appeared to him, a being of pure chaos and destruction that pulsed with an unholy power. Its form was a nightmare made flesh, a writhing mass of eyes and tentacles that seemed to devour the very fabric of reality itself. And yet, even as he recoiled from the horror of its presence, Chang found himself drawn to it, his heart racing with a perverse excitement that he could not fully understand. The entity had spoken to him, its voice a cacophony of whispers and clicks that burrowed into his skull like a psychic parasite, promising him power beyond his wildest dreams. He had seen Sinclair and Fitzgerald in the dream, their faces contorted in terror as they were dragged towards an altar of shifting sands. The entity had demanded their sacrifice, had promised him untold riches and influence if he would only deliver them to its waiting maw. Chang shuddered, the memory of the dream sending a chill down his spine. He knew that he should be horrified by the entity's demands, that he should recoil from the very thought of betraying his companions. And yet, even as he tried to push the disturbing thoughts away, he found himself drawn to the promise of power, to the allure of the forbidden knowledge that the entity seemed to offer. He stifled a gasp, his eyes snapping open as he tried to regain control of his racing thoughts. The tent was still dark, the pre-dawn light barely filtering through the canvas walls. Chang's hand went to his chest, feeling the rapid beat of his heart beneath his fingers. He knew that he could not share the dream with the others, that he had to keep his true motives hidden beneath a veneer of concern and camaraderie. The entity's words had lodged themselves in his mind like a seed waiting to sprout, a temptation that he could not fully resist. Chang forced himself to take a deep breath, to push the unsettling thoughts to the back of his mind. He had to maintain his facade, to keep his cards close to his chest until the time was right. He could not afford to let his guard down, not now, not when so much was at stake. As he sat there in the darkness, Chang's mind raced with the implications of the dream, with the weight of the choices that lay before him. He had always prided himself on his ability to navigate the complexities of the human psyche, to manipulate and control those around him with a subtle touch. But now, faced with the entity's offer, he found himself questioning his own motives, his own desires. Was he truly tempted by the promise of power, or was this simply another ploy, another layer to the intricate web of deception that he had woven around himself? Chang shook his head, trying to clear his mind of the troubling thoughts. He had to focus on the task at hand, on the mission that had brought them to this accursed place. He could not afford to be distracted by the whispers of an eldritch being, no matter how seductive its promises might be. And yet, even as he tried to push the dream from his mind, he found himself drawn back to it, his thoughts circling endlessly around the horrifying images that had been seared into his memory. The entity's voice seemed to echo in his ears, a constant reminder of the terrible knowledge that he now possessed. He wondered if the others had dreamt as well, if they too had been visited by the monstrous being that lurked within the desert's depths. The thought sent a flicker of morbid curiosity through him, a desire to know if he was truly alone in his experience. But even as the curiosity tugged at his mind, Chang felt a twinge of genuine concern for his companions. Sinclair and Fitzgerald were more than just pawns in his game, more than just means to an end. He had come to respect them, to value their strength and determination in the face of the unknown. The thought of betraying them, of sacrificing them to the entity's dark desires, sent a chill through his veins. He knew that he was not a good man, that he had done terrible things in the pursuit of his own goals. But even he had his limits, his boundaries that he would not cross. As the first hints of dawn began to filter through the canvas walls of his tent, Chang forced himself to rise, to face the day ahead with a mask of composure and indifference. He could not let the others see the turmoil that raged within him, the doubts and fears that gnawed at his heart. He stepped out into the cool desert air, his eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of movement. The camp was still, the others lost in their own troubled slumbers. Chang took a deep breath, the crisp morning air filling his lungs and clearing his mind. And then, piercing the pre-dawn silence like a knife, a distant scream echoed across the sands. Chang froze, his heart hammering in his chest as he strained to listen. The sound was unmistakable, a cry of pure terror that sent a shiver down his spine. Was it Sinclair, he wondered, or Fitzgerald? The thought sent a jolt of fear through him, a sudden realization of the danger that they all faced. He had to assess the situation, to find out what had happened and how he could use it to his advantage. But even as his mind raced with the possibilities, Chang felt a flicker of genuine concern for his companions. He may have been a man of secrets and lies, but he was not entirely heartless. The thought of losing them, of seeing them fall victim to the desert's dark powers, sent a chill through his veins. He set off towards the source of the scream, his feet carrying him across the shifting sands with a sense of urgency that he could not fully explain. The entity's words echoed in his mind, a taunting reminder of the choices that lay before him. Would he betray his companions, he wondered, or would he stand with them against the darkness that threatened to consume them all? The answer seemed to hang in the balance, a precarious thread that could be severed at any moment. As he moved through the camp, Chang's mind raced with the implications of the dream, with the weight of the secrets that he carried. He knew that he was walking a dangerous path, that the choices he made in the coming days would have consequences that would echo through eternity. But even as the fear and uncertainty gripped his heart, Chang felt a flicker of something else, a sense of purpose that he had never known before. He may have been a man of shadows and deceit, but in that moment, he knew that he had a role to play in the unfolding drama of the desert. Whether that role would be one of savior or betrayer remained to be seen, a question that only time and the shifting sands of fate could answer. But one thing was certain: the dream had changed everything, had set in motion a chain of events that would lead them all to the very heart of the mystery that had drawn them to this accursed place. Change quickened his pace, his heart pounding in his chest as he moved towards the source of the scream. The sun was rising now, casting long shadows across the desert floor, and in the distance he could see the ruins looming like a sentinel of the past, a silent witness to the horrors that lay ahead. He knew that he had to be careful, that he had to tread lightly in the face of the unknown. But even as the fear and doubt clawed at his mind, Chang felt a flicker of excitement, a sense of anticipation for the revelations that lay ahead. The dream may have been a harbinger of doom, a warning of the terrible price that they would all have to pay, but it was also a call to action, a summons to face the darkness head-on and to uncover the truth that had lain hidden for so long. And so as he moved through the camp, his mind racing with the possibilities of what lay ahead, Chang steeled himself for the challenges that were to come. He may have been a man of secrets and lies, but in that moment, he knew that he had a part to play in the tapestry of fate that was unfolding around them all. The desert watched, waiting, its ancient eyes fixed upon the small band of explorers who dared to tread upon its shifting sands. And in the heart of the ruins, the entity lurked, its malevolent presence a constant reminder of the terrible choices that lay ahead, the sacrifices that would have to be made in the name of power and knowledge. But for now, all that mattered was the scream, the cry of terror that had pierced the pre-dawn silence and set in motion a chain of events that would lead them all to the very edge of madness itself. Chang quickened his pace, his heart pounding in his chest as he moved towards the unknown, ready to face whatever horrors and revelations the desert had in store.
Welcome to Sinister Serials, where shadows whisper and every tale chills to the bone. Join us on Macabre Monday for gothic tales shrouded in mist and mystery. Twisted Tuesday will unravel your mind with psychological thrillers that blur the line between reality and madness. On Weird Wednesday, cosmic horrors from beyond the stars will haunt your dreams. Thriller Thursday brings tales of survival, where every shadow could be your last. Fantasy Friday weaves stories of ancient magic and mythical beasts. Sci-Fi Saturday launches you into dark futures and alien terrors. And on Supernatural Sunday, ghostly whispers and paranormal mysteries will leave you questioning what's truly beyond. Step into the darkness with us. The stories are just beginning.